Hi folks, I'm delighted to be joined again this morning by Ciaran Roche, Risk Manager with FBD. Ciaran, I suppose looking out the window, we're all looking out the window and we're envious of the good weather that's there. And there is a lot of work happening on farms, essential work in terms of, families getting involved in maintenance up around buildings, etc., and that kind of thing. There are risks associated with maintenance work on farms. Any tips for listeners or watchers in terms of what they need to be careful with?
Yeah, I suppose farm maintenance and farm buildings, potentially have a lot of risk involved with the activity. This week we were meant to have the National Farm Safety Conference, and one of the issues we were going to highlight at the conference was the farm building and work at height. And any work like this, takes serious consideration in relation to the risk, and special care needs to be taken in relation to work at height. Farm building is very dangerous. We know in the last 10 years there have been 15 fatalities on farms that related to either construction or maintenance work, and two-thirds of those related to the work at height. FBD have worked very closely with the Health and Safety Authority and Teagasc, and we've produced guidance in relation to building safety, and they're available online or from offices when they're open again, but online they're available at the moment. But extra care, we know there's a lot of work that's been done. It is really important that you maintain your buildings in good condition, whether it be roofs, whether it be facilities for handling stock, because you can't do your job safely unless they're in good condition. But it's important that the care is taken.
I mean, the other piece that's happening again at the moment is there is some essential construction work still going on, and a lot of that maybe is centered around silage pits, etc. at the moment. I mean, again, in terms of construction, has there been any changes in the last couple of months in terms of how a construction job on a farm is supervised?
Yeah, there hasn't been huge change, but there have been a number of prosecutions from the Health and Safety Authority. And one of the areas that they're focusing on is the appointment of project supervisors, design process and construction stage. So if you're carrying out any work on your farm where it's going to take over 30 working days, 500 person hours, or a particular risk, so maybe working on a fragile roof, or more than one contractor, there's a legal obligation to appoint that project supervisor construction stage. And that's the person who's responsible for managing safety on the site. So they put in risk assessments, method statements, ensure that that excavations are done properly, that if you're working at height, there's safe working platforms. So they ensure that the whole process is done safely and people working on the site are competent to know and understand the risks.
And does that project supervisor then take responsibility, Ciaran, or is it still the I suppose the onus is still on the person that's carrying out the construction, or how does that piece work?
Yeah, well, within legislation, the client in this case would be the farmer. He has an obligation to appoint a project supervisor. And once he appoints that person in writing, they take on the responsibility in relation to that. And obviously the contractors that he would use would have a responsibility for health and safety on the site as well. I suppose insurance is an important element here as well. I suppose from an FBD perspective, and it's unique to FBD, anyone who has a farm multi-peril policy with FBD and has employer's liability and public liability insurance, can be covered for farm building and construction on the farm. It is important that we're aware of extra wage roll because there might be an adjustment in relation to that, but contact your local office. But we wanted to make sure that our farmers are covered properly. Some of the largest claims we have with FBD and farm policies relate to construction work, maintenance work and falls from heights. So it is an extremely high risk area.
Okay, you mentioned it there. I mean, finally, this final question is, I suppose, on heights, working from heights. We're getting close to the silage season. There'll be heavy machinery up at a certain height. That whole piece from working from heights, it always is a critical area that farmers need to be aware of.
Yeah, I suppose I split this into two areas. Work at height, there is a hierarchy of controls. So if you can avoid work at height, you avoid it. If it needs to be done, you put appropriate preventative measures in place. So use the likes of scaffolding, mobile elevated work platforms so you can work safely. And if you can't use tools like that, reduce the risk. So maybe use safety harnesses as appropriate. So it's about knowing the risk and understanding it. Make sure people are skilled, they use the appropriate equipment. But it's also the piece that we looked at silage. So last year we had some silage pits, that were as high as 30 foot plus. That's extreme height. So it is really important that the silage pit, is large enough to take the silage, and that you're not going too high, because there's a risk of it collapsing. Now the side of the silage pit should be at 45-degree angles. And the operator up on the silage pit needs to take great care, but it is important that they're built safely, because we don't want to put any operator at undue risk during the silage time.
Ciaran, it was great. We'll touch off this again, I think, in the coming weeks as the season gets busier in terms of the silage and the hay and straw move on into the season. So thanks for the timely updates. We'll be in touch.
Thanks, Billy. Thanks, Jack.